shut the fuck up.
It's so loud. Y'all can't hear it, but now Zoom has a thing where when you start a recording, it has a very loud woman's voice, not like a loud woman, but a woman's voice loudly. Um, there is a difference in the
I
syntax of
can't
that
stop
sentence.
picturing that now.
Yeah. That says this meeting is now being recorded, but it's very loud and it did not exist before, and it throws us off now. So you guys can't hear it, but we can hear it anyway. Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Juicing the Numbers, your Statistics and Sports podcast. I am one of your hosts, Joshua Tracy.
And I am Corwin Heller.
Oh, look who's got a little punch in him today.
Hey, methamphetamines. Oh, shouldn't have said that. Yep.
I was going to say, unlike Floyd Mayweather in the fight, do you pay for fights? This is not anything we were planning on talking about today, but
Josh, I don't pay for anything.
Fair. Do you bother trying to watch the fights in any way?
I streamed the fight, yes. If I have to go to anywhere else but the sites that I've bookmarked for streaming sports events, no, that's it. I don't care enough. But if it's there and available and it's working well, yeah, I'll stream it.
I've given up a while ago on even trying to watch it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because for me, it's like I've stayed up for so many fights that happen at 11:30 at night on the East Coast, 12 o'clock at night on the East Coast, that ended in 56 seconds that I'm like, fuck off. Like I burned so much sleep trying to do this. So I just wait for the next day to find out if it's worth me trying to find a recording of it online after the fact to just see how the fight went. And let me tell you, it is proved useful in my time.
Yeah, and for me, it's one of those things where I'm not big into fighting sports. Like college wrestling is about as far as I go for combat sports. So I don't really give a shit who wins. I watched the Mayweather Pacquiao fight because a friend bought it, and I watched the Mayweather McGregor one because a friend bought it. I never would have watched those fights or given a shit about those fights if I had to go out of my own way to do so.
Mm-hmm. I like combat sports when they're on, but I also don't care much.
Yeah, okay. So if they're on and they're in front of you, you can get into it, you can watch it, you can enjoy it, but
oh, totally. Yeah, totally into it when they're
the physical outcome itself is meaningless.
Very much so. I mean, it's just page, yeah, it's just not my jam. I also know who I am in sparring matches because I've done them, and I am too apologetic to do them, so they also weird me out a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, because I've done some sparring competitions and shit because I do martial arts and whatnot. Yeah. But it is I can't fucking hit people. I'm such a wuss. I can't hit people. I just feel so bad about it, on the inside. Even if that's what everyone's there to do, I just can't handle it. And so there's a little part of me that can't get too into fighting sports because it just feels too brutal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I never have been able to hit people, mostly because I'm weak and I just don't get angry. So those two,
I've hit people, they just never noticed.
Yeah, it's oh, did a fly land on me? No? Oh, Corwin, you look out of breath. What's going on? You okay?
You look very flustered. Yeah, I appreciate Floyd Mayweather and his game. I don't get why people would pay that much money to watch a YouTuber do anything, but I guess fuck me.
The reason I went out of my way to genuinely try and watch it was I was really hoping he would get his fucking lights knocked out, which didn't happen and was overall disappointing, but hey, it's something I can live with,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else anybody was expecting. This is very much so Floyd Mayweather's game and has been since he destroyed his knuckles. So, it's what he does. It's what he did to Manny Pacquiao. He shows up, does not lose, and collects check. Like
He
that's his game, and he's
right.
amazing at doing it. Nobody shows up, doesn't lose a fight, and collects a check like Floyd Mayweather. It is genuinely impressive.
He is like, to his credit, he is an excellent, smart defensive fighter. Like he knows how to avoid getting hit. He
And
knows when to
32.
strike.
That's old as shit for boxing.
Thought he was even older than that, but at the same time, like I don't know. Um, the style he plays, he is fucking elite at. He's 50-0 in his career. Yeah, he's fucking elite. He's one of the best boxers of all time. It just doesn't. It's not a heavyweight title bout between, Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson, even though they never fought. Like it's not enjoyable to watch, but boy, it's excellent boxing.
Yeah, it is very much so the science and the sweet science.
Mhm.
But that's not what we're here to talk about. We didn't have
Yeah.
that queued up at all. So anyway, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this podcast, and that is talking about other things that we usually talk about that we still don't know what we're talking about.
Like meat
Um,
and potatoes.
I know something about meat, potatoes. Oof. Um, so the NFL has long been playing games in London. They've been doing it for actually, how long have they been doing it for? I didn't have that in front of me.
I want to say like 4 or 5 years.
Oh, I want to say it's longer than that.
Really?
I was going to say a decade.
Okay, I'm gonna look it up. NFL London games
28
history.
games over 13 consecutive seasons. So since
13 years.
2008,
Holy
basically.
shit.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. But anyway, since they've been doing that,
2007 was
which
the first time.
I suppose has been successful since they continue to do it, and certainly there must be a reason. They've expanded a little bit. They played in Mexico a couple seasons ago, pre-COVID, and now they're talking about expanding their European presence a little bit by playing in Germany. Um, and in addition to the London game, not in place of it, or one of the London games, I guess, not replacing London as a site, but adding on to it for the European schedule. Um, which okay. Um, I'm not sure I care. It's no different, really, logistically. Like, there's no time difference between London and Germany that would be like they're going very much so farther out of their way. It's all a 6 hour time difference from the East Coast. So
Sure.
from that standpoint, it's like I guess whatever. I I I still don't like. I still don't know what they really get out of the London games outside of a little bit of in-person exposure to try to gin up morale. But yeah, I mean that. Which what I was saying, I guess what I'm getting to is I don't know why they would pick Germany, but
I just imagine it's a large untapped market, and that's really all they care to really dive into. I think it's really just a lot of testing waters and seeing if they could do something similar. Because I can't imagine they have done 13 straight years of a London series. They've done 4 years of a Mexico series without it being financially successful.
has it been 4 years for Mexico
Yeah, I
already?
just looked it up. We only had 3 games played because the conditions in 2019 were too shit for them to do
Oh, that's right. I
anything.
remember that story.
Um, but yeah, yes. So I have to imagine it's a financial incentive and just them really wanting to go out of their way to make sure that they can have a expansion into Europe if that's something that is prudent.
Yeah, I guess I'm just surprised it's Germany and not one of Italy or Spain.
Um, I feel like Spain is something that's also been talked about. Italy is sure. I mean, I feel like it's the same boat, major European power, population wise, connected to American culture more than like a Croatia, I guess. But
Well, also Croatia, who lives there?
fucking Croatians, man.
This is a
Ugh,
country of the size of Delaware. Not literally, but essentially.
essentially. Because
Yeah.
we're Americans, we don't know geography.
I don't know anything. I've never learned a
Yeah.
fact.
What
Um,
is Europe?
yeah, again, it's tough to really get a sense of why play these games anywhere if you don't know the measurements that they're using to justify to signify success in any way. Like Corey and I talked about this with MLB and the rules that they try out in like the minor leagues and the non-affiliate independent leagues, which is like tough to really know what they're looking to get out of this and how they're going to judge whether these rule changes were a success or not. It's kind of like that for the market. I don't think it's but at the same time, I don't think there's anything like I don't think there's a downside to them playing in Germany. Like I don't think they're going to come away from it and be like, "Oh man, we lost $1 billion," or like whatever. The only thing that they'd be losing out on is the marginal difference between playing in Germany and potentially playing somewhere else that cares more. But um, even then, I don't think that's really going to matter. I want to know how much of a quote unquote success Germany would be for them and like what that looks like. But again,
Mhm.
it's information we're just never going to have.
And I think like the only pushback I think they're really going to get is um, probably from fans, really only that it's going to be an early game and people don't want to wake up and see, don't want to have to wake up that early to watch football outside of, diehard fans. I think they will get pushback from players because that does fuck with their schedule a lot, not only that week with the jet lag, the time difference, but also the fact that you are traveling an extensive amount back and forth to Germany, to London, um, and you have games the week before, you have games the week after. I know teams get bye weeks. I believe the week after playing overseas, but at the same time, we've seen it happen in the past where that's not always the case. There's sometimes where it just can't work out like that, or something comes up, nine other excuses, whatever it may be, that really fucks with the players. And I've, at least from what I've seen in the past or what I've heard in the past, is it's not something people or the majority of players on these teams really look forward to because of that wrench thrown in these cogs, not cocks.
I will say, as an East Coast football fan, I love the London game because football starts at 9 a.m. here, which is just how people exist in California, and they can go fuck themselves those 10 a.m. games. That is, I wish my life. Um,
I think now that I'm on a sleep schedule that kind of, like, I'm out of college, I'm not waking up at like 11 o'clock on weekends trying to like sleep as much as I can. And I just naturally wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning like a fucking 80-year-old man. I'll definitely be able to enjoy it more this year.
yeah, dude, it's great. You're just like drinking your morning coffee, and instead of having like the news or a cartoon, whatever your vibe is, on in the background, no, it's the NFL. It's great. It's a wonderful way to spend the day.
Can I say how much I hate that sleeping in for me is 8 a.m.? It just,
Yes.
not even like the sleep itself is one argument, but just the fact that I'm at that point in my life, I'm too young for this. I'm 23. 8 a.m. should not be sleeping in.
And you feel bad if you sleep in beyond that point.
If I see like a 10 on my clock at all when I wake up, I panic.
Dude, 9. I am stressed out if I wake up at 9.
After like 9:30, I can get away with it because I know if I'm sleeping in, it's good for me because I need to catch up on it. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, that's ooh, steamy.
Where's all the day? Yeah.
Where's the beef?
Um so yeah, did they announce who the I'm trying to remember if I saw it. I have the
I think
article
they
up.
did.
Um who the game is gonna be? Wants to hold game, seeks partner city. No, I guess no, they didn't.
I thought
Uh
they did, or maybe it was da, 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 da. Oh, they're looking to play in Germany, and London was where they have the actual game set
yeah.
twice this year. Hey,
The
the New
NFL
York Jets, man, they're playing in London on the 10th.
woo woo. 10th of
The
what?
Jaguars. October.
Ah, got it.
I can see why that would be important information to share.
There's several months. There's at least 6 months where the NFL plays.
I had no idea.
Um. Oh, actually, that's too many. 4 probably. Uh. Yeah. But regardless, yeah, the NFL doesn't really play for 6 months. That'd be September through March, and it ends in February. So anyway, um, fucking, the NFL should play a game on Fight Island.
Yes, they should. because I do not see how it is possible for them to find a better place to have an NFL game. Maybe
6 fans in
Alcatraz
attendance.
or like a prison island somewhere. I don't know. But
Rikers.
fuck.
Play your game on Rikers. Put the Jets in Rikers. I actually really want this now. I want the Jets to be the official. I will fucking drive my ass to Rikers Island every Sunday to watch the Jets play. Put us in Rikers.
Do you think they would actually have a more rambunctious, I guess I'll say, audience, fucking, crowd?
They don't. The Jets fans do not need a more rambunctious crowd. I go to many sporting events in a given season. Oh, not many. I know how people who go to a lot. I go to several sporting events in a given season, a given year, and Jets fans are the only fans I ever see at games that get thrown out for fighting with each other, and where fists often get thrown. I swear to God, every game I go to, Jets fans get tossed for talking shit to other Jets fans and getting in fights with other Jets fans. It is the only team whose games I go to that I see it happen at
I
with
j-
regularity too.
I don't think I've ever seen someone get into a fight at an NFL game. I've seen it happen at college football. I guess I really think that's just because of, the amount of NFL games I've been to compared to how many college games I've been to, because it's a very big difference. But yeah, all right, I believe you. I don't think you're lying to me.
Yeah, so the Jets definitely don't need more rambunctious fans, but I will also take more rambunctious fans because hey, you got to have a reason to go to that shit. So
Yeah.
anyway, um, so let's talk about Gerrit Cole a little bit. Another little
Who's that?
small minor bump in the sticky stuff situation that the MLB has been putting themselves in, where Gerrit Cole was asked point blank in a Tuesday press conference, pregame press conference, whether or not he used spider tack, which is one of the commonly used substances that ball players use to make their glove a little more sticky. And he basically fumbled around with words for like 45 entire seconds, including I think genuinely like 8 or 9 seconds of complete and total silence. Um,
Hmm.
before saying basically something to the effect of, I don't know how to answer that. And when someone says, hey, are you cheating? The answer shouldn't be, I don't know how to answer that. If you're not cheating. And
Right?
and Core and I said on the show, like, everyone's doing it. And it obviously, I don't think either one of us, based on our conversation on Monday, either one of us really we would both, I think, prefer to varying extents a crackdown of some kind, but it's tough to give a shit at this point in time since the rules are non-existent, and it's just basically whose line is it anyway with shit on your hands.
Naturally.
Um, but whoo boy, he is getting dragged on the timeline for that answer. Corwin, did you hear it? Do you care?
I heard it. I just want to say something like this would never have happened if he was still on the Pirates. The Pirates are a classy organization that have never done anything against the best interest of the players or the game of baseball. Give him back. Nah,
Pirates
fuck it.
still
Send it
haven't
to the
found out where first
Padres.
base is, so Cabrian Hayes just got called out on a home run because he missed first base on his way around the bags. The Pirates have
Did
some severe issues that they don't need pine tar.
I did not know that that was something that happened, and that's
Yes.
fucking
He
hilarious.
was watching his home run travel, and while he was watching it to make sure it went into the stands, he just like missed first base entirely.
I saw it happen in, I want to say, a college baseball game where they called a guy out for, missing home plate after a home run, but I had no idea that it was also something that happened to the Pirates.
Yeah, like the same day too. It was freaky. Also, that college player absolutely touched home plate. But
Yeah, I watched it like 4 times, and I hate that you can't like see the best angle of home plate, but he clearly drags his foot across it.
he touches it with both feet. He touches it with the first foot and then also drags his second foot. But whatever. Um, let's back to Gerrit Cole.
Oh, what do I think about it?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like that any of these guys are using this kind of stuff. I don't necessarily believe that Gerrit Cole is juiced up. Um, Based off of the reactions from the Mets players about Jacob deGrom and how adamant they were that he's able to do all this without it, and he's also done it, consistently upticking every single year since coming into the league. I am one to believe that. Um, Gerrit Cole kind of had that jump when he went to the Astros, and if it was any other team, I would believe it as, just hey, a team saw something that they could fix and they did it. But seeing as the Astros are kind of not known for their fair playing strategy, it's a possibility. Look, if he's going up in front of everybody in a year when it's essentially legal to do this and it's kind of opened up where everyone is using it, and he's, still staying adamant that he's not, sure, I'll believe him. I also didn't watch the press conference, so I can't say based off his body language, um, whether I believe his reaction, because I didn't find out about this until the second we started. Let me look it
Um,
up.
yeah, sure. It's I I'll start with this. Corwin and I have largely avoided talking about individual players and how this potential crackdown would affect them, barring conversations around Trevor Bauer, but that's mostly just because he made himself kind of the face of this. So of course we're going to talk about him. And one of the reasons we did that is that one, it's just so many fucking players. Like, what are we just going to sit here and name pitchers for an hour and a half? I mean, fuck, that sounds awful. Um, and for another thing, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it's not the player's issue. It's baseball's issue. And I think that's really my takeaway from I was about to say the DeGrom press conference, the Cole little presser and that fucked up answer, which is it very much so reads like he wasn't expecting to get asked about his personal use with it and more so about the league. Um, and his answer very much so seemed more so league oriented than it did, or at least like in his mind, he had it about the league and not about himself. And
Right.
that's how it should be. Like turning this onto individual players is just going to make this steroids 2.0. Like that's what we've been talking about is what we want to avoid since this shit fucking started. Like no one wants to see this become steroids 2.0 where it was totally up for grabs by the way MLB was enforcing it. So everybody hopped into the bandwagon. And then after MLB said, actually, no, then it became a series of personal choices. And, did he, does this record count, whatever,
Hmm.
after the fact. And we're seeing it happen again before our very eyes because if a reporter goes to Gerrit Cole and asks him about his usage, well, now we're making it the personal choice shit instead of the idea that several people came to the league or at least came to public forums and said pitchers are cheating and the results are far more severe than they have been with the same type of cheating in the past. You should do something. MLB said, fuck you, bitch. We will not get involved until it benefits us personally. And then all of a sudden there's a CBA and half the players are pitchers and half those pitchers are cheating. And now all of a sudden MLB thinks it might have a card to play in a negotiation and is going to turn this into a player issue when it's been a league issue for years.
It's one of those things where if he denied it completely, I would have believed he wasn't using it and wasn't using it actively. The way he responded and the things he said lead me to believe he is using it. And any other period of time, I would be adamant that that is a bullshit thing to do. It's not fair to the game. We want it cracked down. And this is just one of those years where I can't be upset that he does because MLB came out and said, "Hey, we're not going to punish anyone for using it." And it's not like you cannot use it in that case. I mean, yes, Gerrit Cole should absolutely be one of those players that is above that. His skill and, his history, you don't need to don't need to go crazy with the, foreign substances that you're using. Use rosin, use the stuff that's been used for the past decade by pitchers, all levels of the game. The level of where they're taking it just drives me nuts and is taking away from baseball. So I can't really hold it against Gerrit Cole because you're right. It's the blame is on the league and the blame is on the fact that there really is no control over this, and there's no reason for these players not to take advantage of it while they can, because guess what? It's their paychecks. It's their stat lines, it's their arbitration cases, it's their next free agency signing. You have to, because it's your career, it's your, livelihood. You can't, if you go into negotiations and say, "Hey, my stats sucked last year. I had a 4.75 ERA, but I'll tell you what, I was the only pitcher out there not using any kind of substance whatsoever." All those GMs and all those, mediators for arbitration are just going to be like, "Cool, you're still not as good as baseball as the contract you're asking for. You're not getting it." He signed a long-term contract, so obviously that's another detail to kind of include here, but at the same time, you can't let yourself fall behind the league. I don't know. I can't get upset at him for this year. Any other year I would. Final answer. Lock it in.
Yeah, and obviously he's going to get picked on a little bit extra because he's the $36 million man, largest contract in baseball. In terms of total size, obviously Bauer has the highest AAV contract. But
Fucker.
I mean, yes, I hope that beat reporters stop asking individual players about their individual experiences with it. I don't think that's appropriate. Um, Again, since this is a league issue, you know,
Mhm.
like if the league said everyone could take Adderall before the games, which I don't know if it's a prohibited substance. I don't know what makes you.
I think so.
I would imagine it
I know it
is.
isn't like NASCAR. I don't know about any other sport really. I think it might be for football too. I don't know.
I would imagine it is, but whatever illegal substance, if MLB said you could use it, or at least never put a firm stance down saying you couldn't, or like give outfielders gigantic gloves so that they can catch everything. Every outfielder has like a 6-foot glove for no reason. You just put it on the ground. You caught them all. You got them.
You win.
Nailed it.
You've won baseball.
Give every shortstop moon shoes. Like whatever goofy thing that someone thinks might give them an edge. If MLB was just like, I mean, we're not gonna say no,
Right, yeah.
and then they did it, like, is that their fault? You're like everyone says, you're gonna do whatever you can do to get an advantage as long as the league doesn't say no. And the league find people all the time for wearing the wrong color shoes. Like they can find people for whatever they want
Oh
and do
god, I
it with
forgot about that whole
abandon.
fucking shoe bullshit.
Yeah, they did it a lot. And they wrote letters to the players like, "We know we're really sorry. It's just the way it is." And all the players were like, "Fuck you. Like you make the rules. You
Fuck
could
you,
just not do
change it.
this."
God damn. Yeah.
Um so I think it's irresponsible to put it on individual players outside of Trevor Bauer because I just don't like him. Um but even with him, honestly, because again, it's not their problem to solve. And guess
Right.
what? If you leave it up to them to solve it, they're not going to solve it because it's not their
No.
problem to solve.
And they don't necessarily want to because, well,
They're
at
doing
least
fine.
up until now, they've been making great money and it's been exciting. And hey, there's still people out there that think pitching is the best thing about baseball. And up until now, it really didn't negate offensive numbers. Offense was fine. We had the juice ball. Hey, cool. Pitchers are getting into it now too. This is great. We're rocking on all cylinders. Baseball's moving and grooving. And then now we're seeing it this year's where people seeing it this year. God, words are hard. Where nobody can hit and pitchers are absolutely dominating and we have 7 no hitters and it's like, oh shit, this is fucked. This is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I will see if this trend continues, but I do not like it. I do not, Sam, I am. I do not like green eggs and ham.
We're on the same wavelength today. That's where I went to.
Oh, nice, buddy. Nice, nice,
Thanks, man.
nice.
Thanks.
Toy, toy, toy.
Toy, toy, toy.
So another Gerrit Cole news. He is pitching tonight for the New York Yankees. That is
Who?
the New York Yankees.
I'm unfamiliar.
That's okay. Tonight being June 9th. Obviously, this releases on June 10th. Suck a dick. And Gary Sanchez has been on a little hot streak recently and is still not catching for Gerrit Cole tonight, even though he came off of a very nice game yesterday in which he went 2 for 5 with a single and a home run. Instead, Kyle Higashioka is catching for Gerrit Cole today. And that leads to the question of, at what point is the personal catcher fucking dumb? Because actually, no, let's start with a greater conversation about the idea of the personal catcher. So the idea of the personal catcher is that you have a pitcher who is very good, that you have a lot of faith in, that you want to stay really good, and you will accommodate his lunacy because he's very good. And he says, I prefer to throw the ball to that guy. And the teams go, yes, you do. And then they put that guy in catcher's outfits and put him behind home plate. And usually that catcher sucks. Why? I don't know. But usually that catcher sucks. And the only playing time he gets is when that pitcher's pitching. Hence, personal catcher. We will hamper our team offensively because this guy sucks. But we feel as though it will pay off defensively because he is rhythm, cadence, comfortability with the pitcher. So, Corwin Heller, what do you think of the concept of the personal catcher?
I definitely think it has its place. I'm more familiar with it now that I kind of have gotten.
Corwin?
So the personal catcher isn't really something I have ever really experienced before this season when Yu Darvish and Victor Caratini came over. It just was never something that was a common occurrence in the Pirates game I watched. It was never something that really affected my, watching of baseball. It wasn't something I really went out of my way to really learn anything about because it really didn't matter to me. But I mean, Yu Darvish is a guy who throws like 7 different pitches. He has an excellent defensive catcher, with the Cubs, with Victor Caratini, who, they work very closely with. They have a very good connection. And listen, if a pitcher like Yu Darvish, who has a pitch mix that's so diverse that it may be difficult to fully grasp or anticipate if you aren't very familiar with catching Yu Darvish, I can understand wanting to have that personal catcher. I can very much understand how you build that chemistry, and when you have your top ace on top of that being the guy who has this personal catcher, and by all means, it's not like, Victor Caratini is a truly black hole of offense, but, he's definitely not an offensive catcher. I can understand why the team would value that. A lights out 7-inning outing from Yu Darvish, where he doesn't let up a run and gets 12 strikeouts, is absolutely worth giving up the chance of a home run or a hit or two or something like that, whatever the drop off in offensive numbers at the catcher position are.
Right.
So I fully get it. And if, Kyle Higashioka, which I think I'm pronouncing that correct.
Yeah, you got it.
Cool. Is that helpful to Gerrit Cole and allows him to kind of unlock that next level of production of, movement, comfortability? Sure, I'm all for it. But at the same time, Gary Sanchez, I don't think is a bad defensive catcher. Maybe not the best at framing and whatnot, but I know he's got a cannon of an arm, for throwing guys out. He's great offensively and has been, for most of the year for the Yankees. This is one of those situations where, the Yankees offense has been fucking awful, if, you will concede that notion. And I don't get why they would want to completely tank their ability to produce offense, especially when you're in a really great position tonight to win a baseball game because you got Gerrit Cole out there pitching. And it's Gerrit Cole. He's pitched really well with so many different catchers. I could imagine him and Gary Sanchez isn't a huge jump up in production versus that, it's an opportunity cost decision, and I don't think it's quite there for this particular decision.
Yeah, I definitely agree. There's a sliding scale of, it like you said, there's an opportunity cost to it. There's a marginal utility to it.
Mhm.
Like Victor Caratini so far
Economic.
this season has a 95 WRC plus. So, like you said, that is not bad. 95
No.
is fine, especially from a catcher.
Mhm.
You'll take 95 all fucking day. Catchers are
Sure,
usually some of your
absolutely.
worst hitters. So, um, I do also think, and we've seen teams in the playoffs even give in to the personal catcher business. And I think there has to be some internal calculus that has to be done as to when and why you're using a personal catcher. Now, if the Yankees offense was rolling with or without Gary Sanchez or Kyle Higashioka,
Mhm.
then yeah, catch whoever the pitcher wants. I don't give a shit. Like, what does it matter?
Right.
If neither of those guys are contributing in a meaningful way and the offense is moving fine without it, then yeah, okay, who cares? I mean,
I'm
I want
I'm
to see
tot
Gary, but who cares?
I'm totally fine with Victor Caratini going out there, every 3, 4 days because I know the rest of the Padres offense can handle that loss.
Yeah, they can light it up.
Right.
Um, and I think there also has to be the question asked of how much do we need the pitching versus how much do we need the hitting?
Mhm.
What is the added weight realistically of not using the personal catcher? And obviously, catcher ERA is a horrible stat because it just never means anything. But, you know, like, how much worse? Last time Gerrit Cole went out there, gave up 5 runs in like 4 innings or some shit like that. And that has nothing to do with Kyle Higashioka.
No.
And if he gave up 5 runs being caught by Gary Sanchez, it wouldn't have much to do with Gary Sanchez. Sometimes you suck. Everyone sucks sometimes, especially in baseball. It is a game of failure. It is a tough sport. And I'm just not sure it matters. And like you said, he's had other catchers. And with the Yankees struggling offensively, Gary Sanchez performing well, and Kyle Higashioka performing poorly, I'm not sure it matters. In the playoffs, I actually might get it a little bit more because if you can win a game 1-0, obviously you can't build a team around that for a long stretch of time because scoring zero, holding your opposition to 0 runs for 162 games is a nonsense strategy. In the playoffs, though, going for like one-off outings from one of your top guys and accommodating his superstitious needs in order to get the best outing you possibly can, where this individual game actually holds a lot of weight and bearing. Yeah, okay, I actually get it more in the playoffs with the singular nature of those performances. But for a full season, fuck yourself. Like, go fuck yourself. Put
Like,
Gerrit Cole in front of me right now. I'll tell him to go fuck himself.
you
Get,
would
get
not
caught by
you
Gary
would you would
Sanchez.
not tell Gerrit Cole if Gerrit Cole walked into your house right now, you would not tell him to go fuck himself.
Also, no, hold on. Because if Gerrit Cole walked in my house right now, I would absolutely tell him to go fuck himself. Because how did he get into my house?
I don't think you would. I think you would be I think you would be truly speechless if Gerrit Cole just kicked your door and was like, I don't even think he has to say anything. If Gerrit Cole kicked your door in, you would be speechless.
I'd be like,
You
take
would
your Kermit
you
the
would
Frog
welcome
ass
him.
voice and get the fuck out of here.
You would welcome him with open arms, and you would ask him to sign so much memorabilia.
He'd come in and be like, "Hey, Jared, I'm here to fuck you," and I'd be like, "Get the fuck out of
Pat
here."
Mahomes, is that you?
Oh, also, yes.
Um, I definitely get what you're saying about the playoffs. Like pitching just matters so much more in the playoffs. Getting a solid outing from your pitchers in the playoffs is so much more valuable than, the chance of a couple extra singles, a couple extra, you know, not even a couple extra, like the chance of like an added run or two. Um, because I really don't think the offensive drop off in that case is all that much. Again, Gary Sanchez is different. He is different offensively as a catcher than, the rest of the league. I don't necessarily think Kyle Higashioka is that, exceptional as a defensive catcher to warrant this. Like, I think there are absolute differences between the two catchers where it would make complete perfect sense. I don't think the defense in the defensive metrics is anywhere close to the difference in offensive metrics. Which again, I am not a Yankees fan. I don't watch them nearly as diligently as you do. I would not know nearly as well as you do, but at the same time, from any perspective, this kind of just doesn't make all that much sense.
Would you like to hear some numbers?
Sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
come on, some
sure.
more enthusiasm than
Yeah,
that.
dude, I want to hear all the numbers. Juice them up for me. Put them in the blender.
Put them
Food
in me,
process
daddy.
them. Listen, that's
All
drafting
right.
pod.
So for the season, Gary Sanchez's WRC plus is 108. That means he's 8% better a hitter than the league. Kyle Higashioka is sitting clean at 98. That is 10 percentage points or 10 points of WRC plus below Gary Sanchez. So from a season-long perspective, them's the gap. I also have a split here going back a calendar month. So going from 5-9, completely arbitrary. I didn't like cherry pick the date at all because I don't like when people do that. So I literally just went it is 6-9 today. I went back to 5-9, random day, just 1 month ago today. Would you like to guess Gary Sanchez's WRC plus in that time?
103.
118.
Mm,
118.
close off.
18% better the hitter than MLB average. Would you like to guess Kyle Higashioka's WRC plus over the same stretch of time?
91.
8. 8.
Are you fucking?
No
What?
numbers in front, no numbers behind, just the number 8.
So 0.008.
Yes.
That's fucked. What?
He is
Can you give me
batting.
some defensive metrics after this to like see if we could figure this shit out? But hey, keep going with the stat line.
I will. So in that time frame, Gary Sanchez is batting 247, 326, 468. Has an OPS of 793. Okay, his BABIP was 349. WRC plus again of 118. In that same stretch, Kyle Higashioka is slashing 129, 206, 161. That is an OPS of 367. OPS of 367. His OPS is 40 points higher than Gary Sanchez's on base. And his BABIP is 182. WRC plus again of 8. His weighted on base is 176. Gary's is 339. They're having wildly different stretches as of right now.
Oh my God. Can we go
Wildly
into
different.
defensive numbers, please? Like, I'm gonna pull some more up. I just, I, I okay. I'm gonna stop talking or attempt to talk.
Sure thing. So Fangraphs, which is the site that I am on, um, has framing statistics on it. I don't actually know what the units of measurement are because I didn't prepare to look at it because I'm not usually on
Sure.
Fangraphs. But whatever the unit here is, um, whatever it represents, I'm going to assume it's outs above average or maybe strikes, additional strikeouts taken. The my biggest gripe with Fangraphs, and I've long been um I've long been calling for this, is that they don't have hover over descriptions for their stats. You have to go to their glossary and then hope to find. You have to go to their glossary, then click on a different link, then try to find it. It's a really really bad system. I don't
So
get it.
on
But
Baseball Reference, there is a total fielding runs above average, and in his 23 starts, he has a total runs added of -1, which put
okay,
him at -6 for the year. So over the course of a season, he is on pace to, even with his, barely starting, only 23 starts of -6 runs, he's going to cost your team 6 runs over the course of the season. Not quite great defensive numbers based off of that.
right.
But I wish I had
So
an
catcher
overall
framing, I
number.
think, is just a war. So it's how much better or worse you are, which I understand, but I still don't know what the total, like one war is one win above replacement. You are contributing one game's win worth of additional contribution to your team. I don't know what it's leading towards. Like I don't know, like so for 2021, Kyle Gashioka is sitting at 3.2 for his frame stat, but I don't know if that's 3.2. Wins seems aggressive for framing, so maybe strikeouts being the most severe. I would think that would go towards strikes being a little bit small. But regardless, I guess we'll just kind of rock with it. 3.2 for Kyle Higashioka. For Gary Sanchez, it's uh, I do I wait what? Why is it? Oh, there it is. Sorry, I lost myself. -0.2, which
Okay.
essentially zero. Now, I will also add the caveat, and this is part of the uniqueness of looking at catcher statistics for a personal catcher. Um, the idea of catcher framing is that you get your really the core of it is get all the strikes actually called strikes,
Hmm.
and then if you're really good, get some balls called strikes. Um,
That
now
makes
doing
sense to me.
this
Yep.
doing this with a guy who's a personal catcher for one of the top 5 pitchers in baseball, though, I you're probably going to skew his stats towards looking better because you have one of the top 5 pitchers in baseball on the mound. And that guy's probably going to, one, hit his spots way better than a more average pitcher. And then two, is probably more likely to get calls because he is better and that carries weight and because umps are bad. Umps are very bad.
Yeah.
So, but mostly the first thing, mostly the idea that, like, if Gerrit Cole's throwing on the corner, there's a better chance that that pitch is going to land in the zone on the corner than if a more middle of the road guy did. And that's going to add to Kyle Gashioka's framing stats because that strike call will get called a strike call because it hit its spot better than a pitch by a more average guy being caught by somebody else. So also just large grain. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Okay. Yeah, that all makes sense to me. Does it? Yeah. Let's go with it. Why not?
Now, obviously, Kyle Higashioka might still be a better framing catcher than Gary Sanchez. He probably is. I mean, that's been one of Gary's weaknesses since he came up in the league. I also declare I don't give a shit.
Bankruptcy.
It's just we're talking the difference between 110 points of WRC plus versus the difference
Just
in 3.5 whatever units of who gives a shit in catcher framing. Like, that's the level we're at. It's stupid to even make it a conversation.
it truly blows my fucking mind. Like it really does.
Like, what if I
I
told
don't
you
understand it.
you could replace who's playing first base for the Yankees? These Chris Gittens
Luke
with
Voigt.
Vlad Guerrero Jr. Obviously, you would do that at no cost. They're both on your team. It's like you have Vlad Guerrero on the bench, but you're playing Chris Gittens anyway. Everyone would look at you like you're a fucking idiot. And it's no shade at Chris Gittens. It's
No.
zero shade at Chris Gittens. It's just literal actual Vlad Guerrero. Now, obviously, Gary Sanchez isn't performing as well as Vlad Guerrero is. He's having an MVP season. But the gap, my friends, the gap between him and the guy who is occupying his playing time is severe.
It is. And it's so fucking hard to sit here and try and find the reasoning, try and find the rationale. Like obviously Yankees management, Aaron Boone, Brian Cashman to some extent, I assume he has some input on player personnel decisions, things like that.
He
Because I
claims he
know
does
he's
not.
no I feel like he's in that Yankees brain trust of guys making decisions. Regardless, I have to imagine the Yankees brain trust to some extent made this decision based off of some analytical number or figure or something that's like, okay, this is giving us the better chance to win. And I just don't know. I don't know where to find that perspective or where to find that kind of reasoning.
And obviously it's tough to quantify the like emotional and mental part of the game. We've talked about it a lot. We talked about it with um oh my god, I just lost his name. Max Greenfield, Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah,
When
yeah, yeah.
when he was on the podcast, like that's a big part of performance, and it's a
Absolutely.
part of the game that you're just not going to be able to quantify. And that might be a big part of the whole personal catcher thing. And again, I'm not going to sit here and say that the personal catcher doesn't have a time or place, because it does. But I think that's it. It has a time and place. It is not carte blanche to do it for an entire season. I think at some point, like if they had fuck Gary Sanchez for the moment. Let's say they had prime Mike Piazza on the bench,
Mhm.
and they were struggling to score runs the way the Yankees are currently struggling to score runs. I don't care who Gerrit Cole wants to throw pitches to. If we are struggling to score runs and Mike Piazza is fresh to play, not coming day game after night game or any of that shit, doubleheader, whatever, fucking play Mike Piazza. Like, play the guy who's going to get you the runs because you're not scoring them and you need them. And I'm fucking tired of watching this shitty team. They're
It'd
not
be
shitty. I'm
like
just frustrated.
it'd be like sending out like Michael King for Aroldis Chapman for save opportunity after save after opportunity. Words are just not coming out today. Fucking Christ! Like, oh, we see something, we think Michael King can get it, and it's like, well, Aroldis Chapman has been pitching really, really well this year. Way better than Gary is offensively, but just as an example, and Michael King has shown some fucking awful stuff. He's shown some good stuff, but he's also been really bad. So why are we doing this? Why? There's a clear,
Why?
better choice. Why? Because I rap about philosophy and me and my nana drinking a cup of tea.
Ain't no rapper and ain't no party like a
Like my nana's tea party.
party.
Hey.
Hey, ha.
I
It's
just
so
looked
good.
down and got a notification. My microphone changed because I think my computer thinks I just broke it because of how fucking high pitched that was,
Yeah, there you go.
or attempted to be.
Yeah, it's just very silly. And the Yankees have a lot of problems right now with players performing. I'm not going to
Mm,
sit here and say that the way the team is constructed is wrong. I don't think that's true. I think they have a bunch of very talented people who
I think it's
are
wrong.
fuck you, slowly starting to get back to themselves. And that's part of what makes it frustrating is that here's a guy who is getting back to like who he is and one of the few bright spots on the Yankees offense, and they're not giving him the most playing time they could be. And when the team is struggling the way they're struggling, and they're struggling for the reasons they're struggling, not lack of talent, but the lack of performance, lack of execution, to be sitting a guy who is performing and executing seems stupid.
Dumb. Ass backwards.
Back asswards. So
Sure.
fuck that shit.
Okay.
Um, any thoughts on personal catcher Biz?
Um, no, I still think it definitely has its place, and there are definitely, situations and opportunities where they make a lot of sense. I just, again, I just don't think this particular case is one of those.
Agreed. Now, Corwin for the surprise final topic.
Ooh, all these topics are surprise final topics.
Yeah. We got some story time.
I love stories.
I had this as a topic quite literally a month and a half ago and forgot. So
Oh, that makes it so much more genuine because
it
I
is
know
it is
that's an
not
accurate story.
timely at
Yep.
all. um, so when John Means threw the first no hitter for the Orioles since 1969. There was
Nice.
one combined no hitter in 1991, but we're ignoring that because who cares? Um, I decided to take a peek through the Orioles no hitters because I was like, hey, who else threw no hitters for the Orioles?
Okay.
And I would like to tell you the tale of April 30th, 1967,
Okay. A day
in
which
which
will live in infamy.
in which the Baltimore Orioles threw a combined no hitter and lost in 9 innings, in regulation innings.
I mean, I get the theory behind how such a thing is possible. I never thought such a goddamn
Never
wild.
thought they'd do it.
Yeah. What? Okay, Josh, go ahead.
So the Baltimore Orioles that day were going up against the Detroit Tigers. It was early in the season, April 30th. The Baltimore Orioles were coming into the game 8-6. The Detroit Tigers 9-6. Or sorry, 8-7, 9-6. So both teams off to okay starts. They're both doing what they got to do. Our starting pitcher matchup that day was Earl Wilson of the Detroit Tigers and Steve Barber for the Baltimore Orioles. And let's get into their stat lines here, shall we? So just for an overview of the stat lines, so you can see how this kind of goes. Earl Wilson, who ends up picking up the win in this game, mind you, for the Tigers, 8 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 run, which was earned, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts. Okay. And then after him in relief, Fred Gladding, who got the save, 1 inning pitched, 1 strikeout, nothing else. The Baltimore Orioles, Steve Barber, 8.2 innings pitched, 0 hits, 2 runs, one of which was earned, 3 strikeouts, 10 walks. And then in relief of him, Stu Miller, who had 0.1 innings pitched with nothing that happened in that event. So let's get into it. So, first inning, Detroit up to bat. Nothing exciting happens. Everybody makes an out except Mike Stanley, who gets the first walk of the day. Who gives a shit? The Baltimore Orioles come up to bat. Nothing happens. They all ground out. And that kind of is the way it goes for most of the game. Not a lot really happens for, like the game. It's 0-0 all the way until the top of the ninth. Sorry, the bottom of the eighth, I should say, bottom of the eighth. So in the bottom of the eighth, Kurt Blefary, that's right, our man, one of Corwin and my favorite things to do is to read these old timey game logs to like just find the names. So Kurt Blefary facing Earl Wilson. Again, Earl Wilson, the Detroit Tigers pitcher. So Orioles are batting. Kurt walks. And then Woody Held, which also sounds like a fake name because it makes it sound like it's Wood He Held, which makes it sound like some guy's jerking off or jerking somebody off. But no, his name is Woody Held. He bunts because, again, late in the game, we got to play that small ball, 67. So he ends up grounding out. Blefary moves to second. Now Charlie Lau is pinch hitting for the catcher, Andy Etcherbaron. God, love these names. So Charlie Lau gets intentionally walked. And actually, hold on. I want to look up Charlie Lau because was he that fearsome that they had to intentionally walk him? Over under for Charlie Lau's OPS plus in 67. I'll say 130 over or under.
I'll say under.
1967, Charlie Lau was 34. Oh my God, his OPS plus was 59.
Okay, that's really bad.
What the fuck? No, in the year before it,
hilariously bad.
Yeah, the year before it, he only played 18 games, so not a big sample size, but his OPS plus was 306. So he only played 18 games, but he raked. Yeah, 1967, 59. So that's not good. Anyway, continuing our tale. So now we got men on first and
Before we
third.
continue on with the tale, you originally said this was April 30th, 1969.
Oh, sorry, 1967.
Right. I went there to that page on Baseball Reference, and the Baltimore Orioles lost to the Detroit Tigers 2-0. And I was like, I do not understand how this is not the right game and this is not adding up. I don't get it. And then you just said 67, and I went back and it's like, oh, same date, 2 years prior, the Baltimore Orioles play the Detroit Tigers and lose to the Tigers.
Gave up 2 runs. Yeah.
Baseball.
Gotta love this stupid fucking sport. All right. So anyway, anywho's. So Charlie Lau intentionally walks. We got runners on first and second. Steve Barber comes up. He walks. So now, bases loaded, 1 out. Luis Aparicio comes up. Fly ball. It's a sac fly. So Blefary scores. Lau moves to third, advancing on an E9. So the right fielder must have fucked up the throw, is my guess. Barber goes to second. So 2 outs. Men on third. Yeah, third and second. And then Russ Snyder comes up. He hits a fly ball to first base. Inning ends. Orioles have a lead. Orioles have the first score of the game goes to the Orioles. And it's awesome because their pitcher, Steve Barber, is up there throwing a no-hitter. So now he's got a chance to close it out, go home, eat your steak and potatoes, die at 45. It's all going right according to plan. So Steve Barber comes up. His first batter of the top of the ninth is Norm Cash. He walks Norm Cash, which he's been walking people all fucking day, so it's not a surprise. Drew Trasuski then pinch runs for Norm Cash at first base. So got a pinch runner on first. Ray Euler comes up. He also walks. So Trasuski goes to second. Cash Euler's on first. Now Earl Wilson comes up. That's right. The pitcher Earl Wilson is batting in this game. Why is that? Because the designated hitter was not invented yet. So the pitcher had to bat even though it's the American League. And what do they make the pitcher do? They make the pitcher do the thing they make all pitchers do. He bunts. He grounds out in a 3-2. Trasuski goes to third. Euler goes to second. So now we got 1 out, 2 on. And now we have a pinch hitter, Willie Horton, pinch hitting for Dick McAuliffe. God, these names are ridiculous. And Jake Wood is pinch running for Ray Euler. God, I wonder if we'll look back at the names from today's baseball and make fun of them as much. So anyway, Willie Horton is now batting. He pops out foul pop fly to the catcher. So now it's second and third, 2 outs. Still no hits. Both runners got on from walks. They got moved over from the bunt and then the a foul pop fly. So now he's facing Mickey Stanley. Okay. Wild pitch. Wild pitch. Thrown in the dirt, I would assume. Who knows? But Trasuski, the pinch runner, comes flying down the line, which makes his manager look like a genius, to score and tie the game at 1 with fucking what's his name? Jake Wood moving to third. So now we got a runner on third, 1 in, 2 out, man on third. Steve Barber still in this game, trying to close it out, just get out of the inning, pitch your complete game-ish kind of deal, move along. And then he finishes out Mickey Stanley by walking him. That's right, folks. The 10th walk of the game. And at 10 walks, men on first and third, the Orioles manager said, that's enough. Brings in Stu Miller. Stu Miller comes in to face Don Wirt. Don Wirt grounds into a fielder's choice in which nobody made an out, which means that Jake Wood scored on an unearned run. No one did anything. It was an E4. Oh, okay. So the second baseman, I guess, was supposed to make a catch that he just didn't make to try to get an out somewhere, and no one got it. So there's your unearned run, and then Stu Miller gets Al Kaline of all people. Al Kaline is the last out. Hall of Fame batter Al Kaline. It's ridiculous. He's the only name I recognize in this entire ordeal, and he makes the final out of this bullshit, stupid inning. And then in the bottom of the ninth, with the trio coming up of Frank Robinson, Hall of Fame batter, Brooks Robinson, Hall of Fame batter, and Mike Epstein, nobody even gets fucking on base. And the Baltimore Orioles lose their no-hitter. Well, keep the no-hitter, but lose the game 2-1 on just some bullshit while also managing to throw a combined no-hitter.
This is so fucking wild. So obviously, like, I'm sitting here, I'm following along, like I'm reading along with how all this went down. I'm getting curious about Steve Barber. I look at his stats. This happened in 1967, coming off a 1966 All-Star season, which he had a 2.3 ERA. He gave up 104 hits in 133 innings pitched, had 91 strikeouts and only walked 49 people. He had 20% of his entire walks from the previous season in this one outing. Finished with 115 over 172 innings pitched that year.
I mean,
what a character. Oh, halfway through 1967, he got traded to the Yankees. The Yankees saw this game and were like, I want him.
We need that man.
We need those him. Walks.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what a fucking just journey. I mean,
love this. This was such a great game to go through.
Yeah, right. What a find. Thanks, Wikipedia. The teams would go on. The 1967 Detroit Tigers would go 91-71. They'd finish second in the American League. And was there actually playoffs at this point? I believe there was. Schedule and results? Did they go to the playoffs? I don't see playoffs, so I guess they didn't. Yeah.
Playoffs?
I wonder when the first
playoffs
championship series was at. Anyway, the Baltimore Orioles finished 76-85. That was 6th in the American League that year. Not great. It's not great. Yeah, the Tigers finished 1 game back of Boston for the American League pennant. The Orioles finished middle of the road, just better than the Washington Senators, Cleveland Indians, New York Yankees, and Kansas City Athletics. But both teams shared this experience. The Baltimore Orioles lose a game in which they pitched a no-hitter.
I'm glad shit like this exists. You know, like theoretically, we all knew it could happen, but I'm glad it has. You know,
You know what else is interesting? How many double plays do you think there were in this game?
no idea.
2. One on each side.
Hmm.
In a
I
shutout
don't know
like
how
this,
common they are.
well, that's what I'm saying. In a shutout performance, an 8-inning shutout, I guess, basically, between the two sides. In a game, in an era in which small ball was way more prevalent than today's, I would
Hmm.
expect more double plays than that.
I
But
guess, yeah. I feel like two is not really an aberration, but it still seems
especially with
significantly
like
smaller than it should be.
with 10 walks coming from just the one side, like that's a lot of base runners. There's a lot of double play opportunities in there.
Right.
And then how many did the other guy Chuck? Um, yeah, so 14 walks altogether. I mean, that's a lot of double play opportunities. But
You're not wrong, sir.
yeah, hey, what the fuck do we know? Not much, I'll tell you that. Not much. Um, yeah, all right. That's all I got. I wanted to share that fun story. Sorry, I forgot about it for like a month and a half.
Hey, it
Um,
came back. That's fine.
that's all that matters. I'm just going to start sharing news headlines from 2016, and act like they just happened. That's what we're going to start doing since I can't keep my shit straight. Oh well. You got anything else before we wrap it up?
No.
Can you roll your R's?
No.
Let me hear. Let me hear an attempt.
No, I can't. That was a genuine attempt. I don't know how to do it.
That's okay. I they say it's genetic, and I don't know why you would. I don't know how it's genetic, and I don't know why I would have that gene.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like
You
my
got
people do
some
not need
Latin
to
in you
roll their.
somewhere.
I don't. I've seen the
Somewhere.
genetics tests.
Somewhere.
No, just straight Ashkenazi Jew and Irish. That's all I got. Just down the middle. But anyway.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough.
All right, so we will wrap it up. If you want to follow the show on Twitter, you can do so at Juicing Pod. If you want to hit Corwin Heller, you can do so at
No, do not
Corwin
hit
Heller.
Corwin Heller. If you want to hit up Corwin Heller, feel free.
No, you should hit Corwin Heller. If you'd like to hit up me, you can do so at Joshua D. Tracy. And if you'd like to send us emails, you can do so at juicingthenumbers at gmail.com. And until Monday, y'all have a good one.
Bye.